So what is the key to making a formal diagnosis? It lies in gathering truthful data, specifically an accurate history and relevant information. But what happens when a person being assessed is a victim of gang stalking? A situation often involves narcissistic abuse. In such cases, their history may have been rewritten, and the narrative about them controlled or distorted by the abuser. So if the information collected is based on lies or manipulation, any diagnosis made from it is likely to be inaccurate. It is well understood that one of the primary tactics of gang stalking is character assassination, designed to isolate the target from their support systems. This operation relies heavily on manipulation in crafting false narratives to make the target appear as the very lie being spread about them. This is carried out through various means, like psychological abuse, triangulation, the destruction of personal relationships, and it is all intended to disrupt the target's mental and emotional stability. These deceptive methods are part of corrupt system that prides itself on mastering manipulation. And in this orchestrated abuse, the target becomes the scapegoat. So one of the tactic was to make someone look like the narcissist. Well, it is because the abuser is a narcissist. Simple scapegoating. I have mentioned about these individuals being an expert in deception, and their tactics revolves around techniques to make their lies look true via manipulation. So like for example, in my gang stalking that the takedown took place massively in social media, specifically in YouTube. The attack was obviously desperate, but the point is, how will they be able to make their lives convincing in social media? As I have shown you screenshots of tarot readers being paid, and these tarot readers are now claiming that they are millionaires. We all know that the corruption is heavy, and anyone at this point can be paid. So let's go back to that question, how? Well, simple. Hire an expert of deceit. It makes sense if they want to portray someone to be a narcissist. They will hire an expert, not to tell the truth, but to sell a lie. Deceivers use experts for one core reason, and that is credibility manipulation. A well-dressed lie backed by credentials is harder to question. It creates the illusion that the deception is fact. So it makes their agenda looks rational, professional, and even helpful while hiding the real agenda in manipulation. We don't know. Like what I have mentioned multiple times, most of the tarot readers who were involved are talking about the evil that they are committing. We should bring this perspective to these experts who is claiming to be experts in diagnosing narcissism, because it can also be and is highly possible to be a deflection of what they truly are. Narcissists excel at image crafting. They often present themselves to be experts, and they use inflated credentials. It is all about promoting themselves. And a lot of these tarot readers who are into gang stalking are all talking about narcissism. So it's not different with an expert of narcissism to be a narcissist. You see, the loudest online aren't always the most sincere. They just need to make money. Visibility doesn't mean value, and noise doesn't mean truth. I came across someone who claimed to be an expert in personality disorders and frequently highlights his credentials and achievements. Whether all of it is truthful, I cannot say for certain. But what struck me as odd was that around the time I was actively speaking out about gang stalking, he released a content on the topic, and in it, he misrepresented targeted individuals, portraying them as the narcissists. And that raises serious questions about his perspective and intent. And now, this professor, the same professor, is making contents about narcissists being stubborn in that in a relationship, narcissists are often discarding the partner's opinions or plans and that they know what is best all the time. Although this statement is true for narcissists, well, I am not one. But you can only assume. Lol. He also created a content about how narcissists often believe their intuition is always right. Well, I agree with that point. Personally, I don't believe my intuition is infallible. But I have often paid the price for second guessing it or hesitating to act on it. But still, I completely understand his perspective. Especially considering my experience with gang stalking tarot readers who targeted me. They were so deeply deluded that they believed their own narratives. Just like that Idaho tarot reader who aggressively antagonized someone and insisted that her distorted perceptions were absolute truth until she got prosecuted. You see, from my perspective, I believe God allowed me to see through things more clearly during my own persecution. Interestingly, this happened around the same time the story of Natalia Grace came to light. You know, the child who was adopted and labeled as evil by her own foster parents. And for years, she was condemned and misunderstood, only for the truth to later emerge that she had been honest about her age and was not evil, but rather neglected and abandoned by the very family that demonized her. I have personally seen experts on YouTube discussing her case. There was even a panel of 4 professionals who were diagnosing her based on misinformation and false narratives. You cannot accurately diagnose someone without knowing the full truth. If you are later confronted with evidence-based facts that contradict your initial assumptions, not only might your ego take a hit, but your professional credentials may make it even harder for you to admit that your intuition or judgment were also flawed. You see, we can be either or both right or wrong. We are human. But the only difference is it is my story. In it and not yours. So understand this. There are truths I have deliberately chosen not to reveal. Truths that could completely dismantle your narrative. Checkmate. You don't know me. And you have no idea what I've had to endure or the pain I chose to forgive.